Gear-obsessed editors choose every product we review. We may earn money if you buy from a link. How we test gear. The new iPhone SE, the Apple phone for everyone in a world of pricey smartphones overloaded with questionably useful features, the new, stripped-down, and inexpensive iPhone SE shines brightly. By Darren Orff, April 28, 2020. The new iPhone SE 2020 Orff Hammer and Wrench Phone, iPhone SE 2020, display size, 4.7 inches, display type, HD LCD, 326 pixels per inch, chip, A13 Bionic, camera, 12MP wide camera, water resistance, IP67, price and capacity, $400, 64 GB, $450, 128 GB, and $550, 256 GB. iPhone SE. Apple. Buy now. Apple and inexpensive are two words that rarely share the same sentence. Where the company's iPhones often lead the way in security, user-friendliness, and industrial design, the same can also be said about price. Many years ago, maybe even the last time you bought a smartphone, a $1,000 plus slab of glass and silicon would be unthinkable. In recent years? It's the new normal. Phone makers have invented foldable creations, dreamed up radar-sensing displays, and added more and more cameras to entice people to break that quadruple-digit price tag. It begins to feel impossible to find a phone that's just great at being a phone and skips all the gimmicks. The new iPhone SE proves that the impossible is possible. Apple on a budget. First look, 2020 iPhone SE by Popular Mechanics. US Play unmute. Current time 0:01, duration 1:29. Captions. Full screen. Click to unmute. Advertisement. Continue reading below. This isn't the SE's first rodeo. In spring 2016, Apple released the first iPhone SE, matching the same 4-inch display size of the iPhone 5S, a phone 2 generations removed from the current iPhone at the time, the iPhone 6S. But the phone packed in Apple's latest chip, the A9, that could also be found in the latest and greatest iPhones. The new SE doesn't muck with that formula, it borrows from the iPhone 8, copying its size, 4.7 inches, and its design, welcome back, home button. But it also includes the very latest Apple silicon, the A13 Bionic. This makes the iPhone SE on par with Apple's latest and greatest in terms of speed, reliability, and compatibility. Translation: this thing won't be updated into oblivion for many years to come. But the all-important spec of this sprawling tech speak regurgitation is that the phone starts at $400, a $600 price cut from the current iPhone 11 Pro. And unlike the original SE, that price comes with storage space you can believe in, 64 GB for the base model, 128 GB for $50 more and 256 GB for $150 more. Sacrifices. Big and small close-up of the iPhone SE 2020 back camera. Darren Orff, but we're still talking about a $400 phone here, so how did Apple pull it off? Short answer: familiarity and smart sacrifices. There's a reason why the new iPhone SE looks like an iPhone 8, and it's all about keeping costs down. Over the years, Apple has mastered the manufacturing process behind the iPhone 8, so it can keep pumping out similar-looking iPhones on the cheap. It's one of the reasons why Apple kept the dated design. While some will welcome the return of the home button, the large black bezels sandwiching the 4.7 LCD display in between is a rarity in a world where phone displays, even on inexpensive phones, are stretched to the very edges of the device. From an ergonomic standpoint, the SE's design still holds up, it just won't be turning heads like the acrobatic Galaxy Fold or the pixel-filled iPhone 11 Pro. iPhone SE 2020 home button. Darren Orff advertisement. Continue reading below. But in my day-to-day use, I love the return of the home button, bringing back with it its easy navigation and blazing fast Touch ID sensor. The big bezels didn't bother me either. If anything, they allowed for less mispresses as I actually had some glass real estate to grab onto when I picked up the phone or handed it to a friend. If my iPhone SE was my primary multimedia machine, yeah, I might spring for that bigger, brighter, and more pixel-dense display on the iPhone Pro 11. But with only a 4.7-inch display, it wasn't likely to become my next Netflix binge machine anyway. The iPhone SE is one of the most exciting phones Apple has ever made. By essentially making the iPhone. The only other measurable setback is the camera. If you take pride in your iPhone photography and you want to take the very best images possible, the iPhone SE isn't going to cut it. Its performance in low light conditions is passable but not great, for example. It also doesn't have ultra-wide or telephoto lenses, meaning the SE can't handle those super zoom or super wide shots. But for all your moderate to well-lit photo needs, the iPhone SE performs admirably, and it's likely something you won't even notice in most conditions. Other omissions are subtle and equally not deal-breaking. The phone only has an IP67 water-resistant rating, meaning it can only survive in 1 meter of water for 30 minutes. That should be fine. It also doesn't come with a headphone jack, unlike other inexpensive phones like the ever-excellent Pixel 3a, but it does come with Lightning headphones in the box. Also, its display is LCD rather than the ultra-luxe OLED screens found in most high-end phones. It might be a bit more power-hungry, but in terms of performance, it's hard to notice a huge discrepancy in day-to-day use, especially with Apple's True Tone screen tech packed inside. An iPhone for everyone. The iPhone SE 2020. Darren Orff. The iPhone SE is one of the most exciting phones Apple has ever made, by essentially unmaking the iPhone. A great phone doesn't necessarily need a triple camera system, the latest and greatest display, a non-traditional flexible design, or edge-to-edge pixels. Instead, the SE sells what makes people want to buy Apple in the first place: great software, customer-friendly services and peripherals, and high-end design. The question about whether to buy the SE becomes trickier if you're software agnostic. Google's Pixel 3a still remains our favorite phone for the price. It's even better than the Pixel 4. Like the SE, Google also made some sacrifices, mainly with a slower processor and its plastic construction, but the 3a retains Google's impressive camera system and includes a headphone jack, which I personally appreciate. Google is also releasing the Pixel 4a pretty soon, so it might be worth waiting to see what cheap phone Google dreams up for 2020. But if you're a dedicated Apple acolyte searching for the best iPhone deal in years, then the wait is over.